building your own happiness on someone else's misery is impossible. My name is Tyler Clinton, and this is my story. I'm not related to the former president, though his actions during his presidency often come to mind. I never imagined questioning why my wife chose to break her vows while wanting to stay married. Here I am, on my back porch on a cool May evening, waiting for my soon-to-be ex-wife, who was served divorce papers at her job, to come home. I'm unsure how she'll react, but I think she might have lost her mind. I found out about her cheating 3 weeks ago on April 28th. We chose the back porch because it's private. We live on a 2-acre lot, so the neighbors won't hear any yelling. A private detective is parked nearby for our safety in case things get heated. Lindsay Lindemy is smart and beautiful. We met in graduate school in Chicago. I was pursuing an MBA in medicine and public health, and she was studying to become a nurse anesthetist. She worked in the neonatal unit for 2 years, dealing with long hours and emotional strain. As a nurse anesthetist, she worked more regular hours with better pay and less trauma. However, she often got bored and sought new experiences. We were enjoying a concert, and she was already planning for the next weekend. Anything new fascinated her, whether it was a new app, friend, or restaurant. We discussed this early in our relationship, and I was fine with her seeking new experiences. But I was a traditionalist about marriage. I believed that even in a long-term relationship, you could find new things if you put your heart into it. She never gave me a reason to doubt her agreement with this. Because of her restless nature, I insisted on a prenuptial agreement. She felt it was an insult to her character. "This is insulting," she said. "Do you think I would ever cheat on you?" "I don't think you will," I replied. "But it protects both of us." Reluctantly, she signed. The agreement split our accumulated wealth 50-50 unless infidelity caused the breakup, in which case it was 80-20. After signing, we rarely thought about it until recently. After getting married, we moved from Chicago to Des Moines, Iowa. It offered a low cost of living, a strong economy, a vibrant downtown, and great healthcare career opportunities. The winters are cold, but the other seasons are mild, and even summer evenings are pleasant. Des Moines is also known for its delicious sweet corn, and as the birthplace of Pinterest creator, Ben Silberman. Over 8 years, we had jobs we loved, a beautiful home, wonderful friends, and what I thought was a solid marriage. We fought occasionally, like any couple. I insisted on squeezing toothpaste from the bottom while she didn't care. She preferred the kitchen clean every night, while I loaded the dishwasher over a few days. Despite these minor disagreements, we enjoyed long walks, conversations on the porch, and quick trips to favorite spots. We were honest about our likes and dislikes, or so I thought. At 34, we were considering having kids soon. You might wonder if I'm bad in bed, if Lynn is stunning and pursued by many, or if we considered an open marriage. Did I miss warning signs? Maybe I cheated and she's getting revenge? Is her lover irresistible? Is she changing our financial situation? Let me explain everything. First, Lynn seems genuinely happy with our life together. "I've never been called the best," I said, "but I've worked hard and never heard any complaints." Second, she's very pretty, with a quick wit and a strong mind. She's Irish-Italian, blonde brunette, and 5'8". Third, I don't recall any warning signs. Maybe I should have been more attentive to her fascination with new things. Fourth, I've never been unfaithful. Fifth, her lover is handsome, but not exceptionally so. He's about my height, 6'1", and build 180 pounds, trim but not ripped, with blonde hair and blue eyes. Sixth, he's only 28, a medical student who's been in the OR for 2 months. He'll make money someday, but she already earns $100K, and I make twice that. The lure of money, cars, or luxury homes doesn't make sense since he won't make serious money for another decade. So how did we get here? Let me explain what happened over the last 3 weeks. It was the last week of April, and I was at a medical administrators conference in Kansas City. I was supposed to stay 4 days, but left early because the final day's workshops didn't interest me. It had been a good week. I met 3 others from my region, and we formed a small team, enjoyed camaraderie, networked, and laughed over beers. On the 3rd day, I decided to head home early the next morning. The drive was under 3 hours, so I skipped flying and drove. Interstate 35 is quiet with less traffic. On the way, I listened to Dan Carlin's Hardcore History podcast about World War I. Kansas City has a great WWI museum, and Carlin's info was helpful for my tour before the seminar. I hit the road at 5 in the morning, expecting to wake my wife around 8. When I arrived home, Lynn's car wasn't in the driveway. She drives a 2018 Honda Accord, which she only garages when it rains, and it hadn't rained in a week. Puzzled, I entered the house. She wasn't home, the bed was made, and there were no leftovers in the fridge, which was unusual. I called Lynn, but it went to voicemail. We both have Glimpse, a tracking app, so I checked her location and saw her phone was near the airport. We live in northeast Des Moines, and the airport is on the southwest side. I was getting nervous. I called her again 15 minutes later. She answered, and that's when my world started to fall apart. Hey, babe, she said sleepily. Why are you calling so early on my day off? Sorry, Lynn, I replied, keeping calm. I miss you and had some time before my morning seminar. Just wanted to hear your voice. I could tell from the background noise she wasn't in our bed. It's okay, Ty. I'm always happy to talk to my favorite husband. It looks like you're still in bed, so I won't keep you up. Just wanted to say I love you, and I'll be home by dinner tomorrow night unless you want me to skip my last day and rush home. That would be great, but I have errands and dinner with Kim and Sally tonight. We planned it weeks ago, so I can't cancel. These were her coworkers. She didn't hint that she wasn't at home, so I had to think quickly. Okay, babe. Before you hang up, can you check the top drawer of my nightstand for the pen you gave me for my birthday? I don't have it, and I'm afraid I lost it. Ty, I really want to go back to sleep. Can I check it and call you back before lunch? Wrong answer. Usually she'd say, I'll check, but I won't be happy if it's not there and you lost my gift. My heart pounded, but I stayed composed. Sure, Lynn. Just don't forget to check. Sorry for waking you. Thanks, babe. I'll call you later. Love you. I couldn't bring myself to say I love you, too. I hung up, got in my car, and drove to the airport, hoping for a miracle but expecting the worst. The drive should take 40 minutes, but I made it in 30, lucky not to be pulled over. Every time I checked the app, her phone hadn't moved. If she checked and saw I was close, we'd have a huge fight. But I guess she was too distracted by her new experience to notice. The GPS led me to the Hampton Inn near the DSM airport. I parked far from the entrance, but then realized Lynn might recognize my car, so I moved to the Quality Inn next door. I found a spot where I could watch the Hamptons' front door but not be seen. I had no plan and fought back tears. Was she really cheating on me? Why? Had she thrown away 8 years of what I thought was a strong relationship? If it was just a night to pamper herself, she'd go to the Marriott downtown. None of this made sense. I agonized for an hour. Then Lynn appeared with Justin Banks. They held hands and kissed as they left. Damn, I muttered. The young medical student was with my wife. I snapped a few pictures on my phone as they kissed passionately and got into his car. I met him 2 months ago at a hospital. He struck me as an idiot trying to prove he was the alpha male with a firm handshake. My dad taught me to look people in the eye and offer a firm hand, so I wasn't impressed. Our small talk felt forced, and he seemed to smirk constantly. I mentioned it to Lynn, and she dismissed it. You hang out with doctors a lot, Ty. You know they can be narcissistic. Justin's not like that. Now, watching my marriage unravel, I struggled to control my emotions. What should I do? Go to court? Hire a private investigator? I needed to think. Problem solving is part of my job, so I forced myself to calm down. After a few minutes, I had a plan. When they left the Hampton, they didn't have overnight bags. It looked like they'd return. I followed the Glimpse app and saw they stopped at a diner 2 miles away. I had a few minutes to act. I walked back to the Hampton and entered the lobby. A middle-aged woman at the front desk smiled as I approached. Good morning, how can I help you? Her name tag said Beth, and I noticed she was wearing a wedding ring. Hi, Beth. I'm Tyler. I need your help. Nice to meet you, Tyler. I'll help if I can. Do you have a reservation? No, Beth, I replied quietly. Did you see the couple that left about 15 minutes ago? A brunette woman and a younger blonde man? Her expression turned serious. Yes, I noticed them. What's the problem? The woman is my wife, and the young man works with her. I believe they're cheating on me. Oh, sir, I don't know how I can help, she said, looking confused. Beth, I need to look in their room. I'm not asking for a key. Someone from housekeeping can let me in and make sure I don't stay long. I see your ring and know you understand how a spouse might feel. Beth thought for a moment. You seem honest. The couple did seem odd, but it's not my business. Could you give me the woman's name? She registered with her credit card. Her name is Lindsay Clinton. She likely used an American Express Gold card. Beth confirmed the Amex number and called out to Thomas, a porter. Thomas, I'm stepping away for 5 minutes. You're in charge. Thomas looked like he'd just been put in charge of the White House. Yes, ma'am. Beth winked at me, and we rode the elevator to the 3rd floor in silence. We stopped in front of room 319. Beth held the key card to the reader and opened the door. Inside, clothes were scattered. Men's shirt, khakis, loafers, and a belt on one side, and a light beige blouse and dark blue skirt on the other. I took pictures and videos, narrating as I went. I'm in room 319 of the Des Moines Airport Marriott. It's 5 to 10 a.m. on Thursday, April 28, 2022. This room was booked by my wife, Lindsay Clinton, using her American Express Gold Card number 551-733-918-4520. Last night, she checked in with Justin Banks, a medical student from her hospital. Based on the condition and smell of the room, they spent the night together. I saw them leave the Hampton 15 minutes ago, kissing and holding hands. I have 2 pictures to prove it. I quickly checked the bathroom but found nothing significant. Before leaving, I grabbed a couple of items for potential DNA testing. As Beth and I entered the elevator, I started to break down, tears streaming down my face. Beth, with her hand on my shoulder, said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Clinton." We stepped into the lobby and I reached for my wallet. "Don't even think about it, son," she said firmly. I smiled, thanked her, and said, "If you see them, please don't mention I was here." She winked and replied, "I've never seen you or heard of you." With my plan at an end, I needed a new strategy. I knew rushing into a divorce could be risky despite the prenup. Fortunately, I wasn't expected home until late Friday, giving me time to think. I drove 30 miles southeast to Winterset and stopped at Rudy's restaurant. Sitting in a booth, I saw a quote from John Wayne's movie, The Shootist, on the wall. It read, "I won't be wronged, I won't be insulted, I won't be laid a hand on." This made me chuckle. Damn right, Pilgrim. The waitress rolled her eyes and asked, "So, young man, would you like a snack?" I ordered coffee and a big breakfast, which lifted my spirits. While eating, I read articles about cheating spouses. Experts say it's rarely a one-time thing. Women who cheat usually do so repeatedly. I realized this had likely been ongoing. I started making a list: hire a private investigator for proof, get solid legal advice, and get tested for STDs. I had about 36 hours to act. I finished my breakfast and left a $50 tip on a $16 meal. At least one person in Des Moines would have a good day. Before leaving, I texted Lynn. Found my pen at the bottom of my satchel. She replied, "Lucky for you." I was tempted to respond harshly, but simply replied, "Uh-huh." 2 hours later, I was at the office of Templeton, Sharp, and Schaefer. I had met Templeton before at a charity event and knew he practiced family law. He returned my call and listened to my story. "I'm sorry to hear that, Mr. Clinton." "Thank you, Mr. Templeton. Please call me Tyler." "Fine, Tyler. I'm Edward, but call me Ed." "Thank you, sir." "Tyler, legally, your situation is challenging. The lack of children helps, but without fault, you may need counseling or mediation to prove the marriage is broken. If the prenup is solid, you might avoid financial loss, but that's uncertain. I'll refer you to my partner, Eli Sharp. He's the best in divorce cases. I'll have Diane set it up." An hour later, I met Eli Sharp. He was small, about 5 at 10 inches and 130 pounds, but had a determined presence. An avid swimmer with several records, he brought that same tenacity to his law practice. He listened carefully, asked a few questions, and suggested initial strategies. "Are they staying at the Hampton today?" "I don't know." "Don't worry, I can find out." He called his assistant. "Diane, get Molly to check if Lindsay Clinton has booked room 319 at the Hampton in D.C. by tomorrow morning. I need a full report by noon tomorrow." He hung up. Molly Baker is the best PI around. She worked in Chicago for 18 years before moving here. If they're there today, we'll know by tomorrow. He advised me to get tested for STDs and worried about the time it would take. I assured him I could expedite the tests through my contacts. I called Dr. Stan Rosen to arrange a visit. Eli also set me up with a forensic accountant from their firm. The next morning, Eli gave me a list of documents to gather, including our prenup. Finally, he said, "If your wife comes home tonight, you can't confront her. We need to establish the facts first, which will take a couple of weeks. Infidelity might not help in court, but won't hurt. Be polite, stay healthy, and avoid conflict." "So punching Justin with a baseball bat is off limits?" "Yes, absolutely." "Got it." We shook hands, and I left. I wish I could say I knew how to share my pain, but that would be a lie. I still had my clothes from the trip, so I didn't need to go inside. I went to another gym, paid for a day pass, and worked out for about 2 hours until I could barely stand. Then I took a long steam and shower before checking into the Hyatt downtown, where I immediately ordered room service, including a bottle of Maker's Mark. After my second drink, I turned off my phone and put it away, knowing I'd forget where it was once drunk. I didn't want to risk calling my wife while intoxicated. Tears, anger, frustration, and more tears lasted until I passed out. The next morning, I woke up around 7 with a terrible hangover. Forcing myself back to the gym, I sipped more makers from my Yeti glass. After a shower, I felt almost human again. I spent an hour at Starbucks compiling a financial report for the accountant. By 8:30, I was in Rosen's office. He drew my blood himself. "I'll take it to the lab and keep it confidential until needed in court," he assured me. "Not your first rodeo, Doc?" "Hell no," he replied in his best John Wayne voice. "I may have results by tomorrow, but it could be Monday." "No worries. Thanks, Stan." Back at TS&S, I met with Lois Montgomery. She sorted through my financials for 2 hours. When done, she summarized. Good news and bad news. The prenup covers 80% of your assets due to infidelity, but the house will likely be split 50-50. You can avoid alimony, but may have to split retirement and savings. I'll prepare a full report for Eli by the end of the day. I thanked her and went to see Eli Sharp again. He was with a woman named Molly Elkington. She was pleasant-looking with a firm handshake and a penetrating gaze. She had a weapon on her belt, which made me note to never mess with her. After pleasantries, she got to the point. "Mr. Clinton, your wife is in a relationship with Justin Banks. Thanks to Beth, I installed audio-visual devices in their room. I also enhanced images to make your wife's identity undeniable. They were at the hotel from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., went out for dinner, and returned at 8 p.m. They checked out around 10 p.m., Banks left in his car, and she went home." She handed me a large file. "There are pictures and a thumb drive with videos. I advise you not to look at them, but if you do, give yourself time and space to deal with it. I'm sorry, Mr. Clinton. I hate cheaters and the damage they cause. You don't deserve this." She and Sharp discussed the next steps to establish a pattern. Then she left. Sharp poured me a shot of Knob Creek Limited Edition to calm my nerves. We continued our conversation, discussing the blood tests and financial aspects of the divorce. "What's your ultimate goal, Tyler? What matters most to you when everything's settled?" I paused. "I want to leave as soon as possible. I can be patient and avoid doing anything rash, but being around her makes me sick. I need you to ensure the prenup terms are honored. I can handle splitting the house and minor assets, but I don't want her to benefit financially at my expense. Also, I want to preserve my dignity and make it known she was unfaithful, not me. No irreconcilable differences. I won't go after the hospital since I work there too, and it's not their fault. But I want it clear that she cheated with Justin Banks. And I want Banks to suffer. If you can convince the hospital to remove him, that would be great, but I doubt it'll happen. I'd love for him to end up driving a UPS truck in Kansas." Sharp replied, "The prenup looks solid. We'll ensure everyone knows why you're splitting up. However, the court might still order counseling to see if the marriage can be saved. If your wife doesn't want a divorce, her lawyer might drag out the case, hoping to weaken your resolve. As for Banks, don't get your hopes up about his career taking a hit. The hospital might take action, especially if new trainees sign a behavior pledge, but don't count on it. You'll need to go home soon and act like a happy husband. If she senses anything, she might strike first before we're ready. And stay away from Banks. If you think you can't, I'll ask Molly to assign someone to keep an eye on you." I promised to behave, even if it meant biting my lip until it bled. Early Friday afternoon, I left Sharp's office, sat in my car for 30 minutes, and realized I couldn't go home without blurting everything out. So I drove south on I-35 toward Kansas City. Lynn expected me home around 7. After 90 minutes, I stopped in Bethany, Missouri, at a tire shop. A guy named Ed was behind the counter, engrossed in Sports Illustrated. "Can I help you?" "Yeah, I need 4 new tires." Ed sighed, annoyed at being interrupted, and inspected my car. "These tires have 10,000 miles left. You don't need new ones." "Look, Ed, I'm particular about my car. Price doesn't matter. Can you do it or not?" He grumbled, checked his computer, and said, "Not today. I can get them by 10 tomorrow. It'll be $1,455. "Great," I said. "Do it." He looked puzzled, but placed the order. "See you in the morning." I left and checked into a Super 8 motel for $78 a night. Lying on the bed, I called Lynn. "You're almost home, babe. Can't wait to see you." She sounded cheerful after 2 days with Justin. "Sorry, Lynn, I lied. I blew 2 tires from debris on the highway. I'm stuck in Bethany, Missouri until tomorrow. I'll be home midday." "Damn. Are you okay? Nothing hit the windshield?" "No, I'm fine. But I'm having Taco Bell for dinner and breakfast. Sorry for the delay." "Me too. But the important thing is, you're okay. I miss you and was hoping to see you tonight. Be safe and come home soon, okay?" "I will, Lynn. I'm tired and a bit shaken from the blowout. I'll have a couple of beers and go to bed. See you tomorrow, okay? Okay, Ty. I love you. Good night, Lynn. I knew I'd eventually have to fake an I love you too with sincerity, but not tonight. I didn't know if she noticed my silence, and I didn't care. I opened the envelope Molly gave me. It showed my wife cheating with Justin. After brushing my teeth, I watched the video of them together. After an hour of intense emotional pain, my rage began to build. I was heartbroken. She was selfish and disrespectful. My anger at Justin would grow, but right then I was furious with the woman who I thought loved me. In our 8-year marriage and year-long engagement, I never seriously considered being with another woman. Sure, I'd notice attractive women, but I never thought of breaking my vows or hurting her with infidelity. I remembered how the prenup had offended her. She was a narcissist, only caring about herself. She didn't understand the commitment I believed love required. So yes, this broke my heart, but I was also furious. This wouldn't go unpunished. That was final. The next few weeks would be tough, but I was determined to leave her as soon as possible. And Dr. Justin would pay too. The next morning, I had tacos for breakfast. I wasn't lying about being stuck at Taco Bell. 2 cups of coffee helped. I went to meet Ed and pick up my new tires. Ed was less grumpy and smiled, probably thinking he could sell my old tires for cash. By 11:30 a.m., I had 4 new tires and no more excuses. I thought about how to mess with Lynn's head during the ride home. The thought of touching her made me cringe. I stopped near Des Moines and arrived home around 1:30 p.m. Lynn's car was there. I walked in and heard light jazz. Lynn was washing dishes, swaying to the music. She didn't hear me come in. I grabbed her. "Damn, Ty, you scared me. Let me go." I left a mark on her neck. Maybe it would make Dr. Banks jealous. "What the hell, Ty? I bet you put marks on my neck. I'll be embarrassed at work." "That's not what I meant, Ty. You just scared me." I overreacted. "I'm glad you're home. Let's go upstairs." I let her go, picked up my bag, and headed upstairs. "Forget it, Lynn. Tell them your idiot husband got carried away and hurt your feelings." I had never spoken to Lynn like that before. I didn't wait for her response and couldn't see her face. All she said was, "Whatever you say." I unpacked, took a shower, changed, and went downstairs. Lynn was texting at the kitchen table. She looked at me with no forgiveness in her eyes, but the anger had lessened. I guessed who she was texting. "Leave it alone, Lynn. I've been gone for a week, 2 days longer than planned, and all I thought about was getting back to you. But my attempt to spice things up didn't go over well. You asked me to hurry home so you could touch me. Sorry for not understanding. Enjoy your day and evening. I'm leaving." I didn't wait for her response. Even in arguments, I never lashed out before. I walked out, got in my car, and drove to the clubhouse. I changed into casual golf clothes and practiced for a couple of hours. I thought about how bachelorhood would give me time to improve my game, but the circumstances made it hard to enjoy. Later, I relaxed in the men's locker room with a beer, chatting with friends. Tom Harris, a local investment banker and good friend, mentioned his wife was out of town, so I invited him to dinner. We went to the Mulberry Stith Tavern and had bourbon and burgers while watching the Cardinals-Mets game. It felt like a bit of normalcy, for which I was grateful. We left around 7 p.m., and I saw 6 texts from Lynn, sent every 30 minutes starting an hour after I left. "Ty, I'm sorry. Please come home so we can talk. Where are you? Come home. Stop ignoring me. I know you're seeing these messages. Go home now." "What?" "Okay, but don't say I didn't ask you to come home. I'm not the one acting like a stubborn idiot." I thought, "You're just the lying, cheating strumpet." I didn't reply and went to see a movie called Firestar about a girl who could set things on fire with her mind. I wished I could take her to Justin. The movie ended just before 10, and I headed home. Lynn's car was gone, probably because she was with her lover. I went back to the club for a couple of drinks, returning home around 11:30. Lynn was back, sitting in our bed. "Thanks for leaving and not answering my texts. Where did you go?" she demanded. "Club, dinner with Tom Harris, movie, back to the club since you weren't here, then home again. And you?" "Nowhere in particular." "Have you been with anyone?" "Not really. Met a friend at Grounds for Celebration coffee shop." "Who?" "Does it matter?" "We need to talk about earlier." "Okay, talk." "Ty, I'm sorry I reacted the way I did, but your aggression scared me. It made me defensive. Your groping didn't turn me on. Part of my love for you is based on respect, and your actions didn't feel like love and respect. Lynn, I admit my actions were different, but you asked me to spice things up physically. I meant more romance, like a candlelit dinner or a weekend at the beach." Lynn, we've done all that over the last 8 years. Weekends away, romantic conversations. Your story doesn't add up. It's true. Maybe in new places. Nonsense, Lynn. I remember our conversation. If you've changed your mind, just say so. Don't lie about it. Ty, why are you being so literal? I may have said it, but how could you interpret it as bend me over the counter or leave a bruise on my neck? Lynn, do you remember what you were wearing during that conversation? What? No. Why does it matter? It's important because it's relevant. I had just showered after working in the yard and came out of the bedroom. We didn't stop for at least an hour. How do I go from that to a romantic weekend holding hands? Ask 10 husbands about this story and 9 will agree with me. If not, I'll buy you any car you want. That's ridiculous, Ty. No, it's not. When you dress up and ask your husband to spice things up, you're not in the mood for romance. You're trying to make me the bad guy. Ty, this isn't helping. Why don't we just drop it and you come to bed and hold me? Sorry, Lynn. If you don't like that behavior, fine, I won't do it again. But don't act like it's my fault. You care more about people seeing a hickey than my feelings. I'm not interested in staying, so you can assume I was wrong. Good night, Lynn. I turned and headed for the guest bedroom. Ty, come back. I'm not done talking to you. Damn it. I ignored her, assuming my plan was working. I doubted she realized I knew she was cheating. Sunday was cold between us. We avoided each other. I spent the morning at the club and the afternoon in the yard. I went to bed before she did. I'm not sleeping in the same bed until you apologize, Ty. I don't mind. We'll alternate nights in the master bedroom. It's my bed too. If you don't like it, use the spare room. Tomorrow night, I'll sleep there. I don't agree. Go to the guest room until you come to your senses. Lynn, we're equals. I'm sleeping here tonight. What you do is up to you. Fool, she hissed, leaving for the guest room. The beginning of the week was the same. We barely spoke. She tried to provoke me, but I didn't react. Monday night, she complained about being teased at work over the hickey. I shrugged. Tuesday morning, Stan Rosen called and asked me to stop by his office. Bad news first. You have a mild form of chlamydia. Most men don't have symptoms, but with treatment, it will clear up. You'll need to be rechecked in 3 months. Do you know how you contracted it? Yes, Stan, from my wife. I've never slept with anyone else since before we got engaged. I found out last Thursday she's having an affair. She must have contracted it from him. He heard the sadness in my voice. I'm sorry to hear that, Tyler. I thought you had a good marriage. I'll put you on azithromycin. You need to tell Lynn and abstain from physical engaging for a few weeks. That's not a problem, Stan, but I need to talk to a lawyer about sharing this with Lynn. How serious is the infection? It's not deadly, but untreated, it can cause serious health issues, including infertility. Depending on when Lynn contracted it, the risk increases. You don't want to jeopardize her health. You're right, Stan. I can't live with myself if I do that out of spite. But if she hasn't shown symptoms, is it early enough that she doesn't know? Maybe, maybe not. Some women never have symptoms, but the disease can still cause damage. Waiting more than 48 hours would be wrong. We shook hands, and he said he'd take the prescription to a pharmacy I didn't use. I appreciated his discretion. An hour later, I was in Eli Sharp's office explaining everything. He laughed at my FWLH strategy, but warned me not to give myself away. He got serious when he heard about the STD. That changes things, he sighed. Even lawyers can't ignore serious health risks. I laughed at his joke. Doc gave you 48 hours, so act within 24. I'll consult some colleagues, and I expect you here tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Lynn didn't get home until 10 that night. Her shift ended at 6, but I didn't ask where she'd been. I was watching TV when she walked in, sighed, and went upstairs without a word. Usually, she'd join me for popcorn and wine. Knowing that would never happen again made me feel an overwhelming loss. I loved her, but I couldn't stay with a cheater. The next morning, I was at TC&C Company's conference room. Sharp, Molly's private investigator, and lawyer Mick Sawyer were there. We don't like the timing, Ty, but it's time to act. The STD changed everything. How do you plan to tell her? I want to keep her off balance. What if I send an anonymous tip to her OB/GYN about her chlamydia? They'd have to inform her, and I could confirm it was me later. It might seem sneaky, but she'd get the medical help she needs. Would it pass in court? Everyone looked skeptical, but waited for Sharp's response. Not perfect, but not terrible. It'll make you look petty, but not criminal. However, any judge will want to know who knew and what they did to stop you. I don't think you should do it. Neither do I, said Molly. I agree with Eli, Mick added, grinning. Eventually, she'll figure out it was you, Sharp warned. She'll know you're aware of her affair. It'll give me a day or two to prepare. I replied. Thank you for the advice. I'm determined. I'll message Dr. Pamela Connors when I leave here. I want to witness it, Molly insisted. I need to verify it happened. We discussed a few more details, then I left. 40 minutes later, Dr. Connors received a message from an unknown source. Dr. Connors, one of your patients, Mrs. Lindsay Clinton, has chlamydia. Please offer her assistance. Thank you. I smashed the phone and later threw it into a pond. No one saw me disregard Iowa's littering laws. Meanwhile, Molly watched as Lynn entered Dr. Connors' office looking disheveled. She came out looking worse, picked up a prescription, and went home. I watched the Cardinals game from the porch. Lynn went upstairs without a word. Later, she came out, freshly scrubbed, and sat next to me with a deep sigh. Ty, why don't we call a truce and go back to how things were? I don't know, Lynn. How do you suggest we do that? Let's just stop arguing and move on. I'm not sure that works for me. Why not, Ty? She seemed genuinely curious, maybe shaken by the STD revelation. I'm willing to forgive and move on, Lynn. I've apologized several times for misinterpreting your spice-it-up comments, but you haven't apologized for anything. It feels like you want to win and make me the loser. I think we're both at fault, but you don't see it that way. Fine, she replied irritably. I'm really sorry about that. So, are we okay now? No, it's not okay. I've known you for almost 10 years, and I can tell when you're not sincere. Your words are right, but your tone isn't. Tell me I'm wrong, Lynn. Explain your part and we can move on. She looked sad for a moment, and I thought she might confess about her affair. But her eyes showed her anger and blame. At that moment, I knew it was over. You're so stubborn, Tyler. I apologized, and you threw it back at me because it wasn't up to your standards. You're the one leading us to a dead end. Lynn, you're not being honest. If you can find one close friend who thinks I'm an arrogant donkey who never apologizes, I'll accept it. She stomped off, angry. I knew the next 2 weeks would be tough. I needed to explore my options. The next morning, I spoke with my boss, Connie Silverton, a fair but tough CEO. I explained my situation, seeking advice for the next 2 weeks until I could serve Lynn with divorce papers. Connie was professional but caring. Tyler, I'm sorry for your situation. My parents divorced when I was 10 and it was horrible. But I need to know you can handle this and continue your good work. I can't promise I'll be completely fine, but I love my job and my colleagues. I won't give up my career because of my personal issues. I'll do my best to stay focused. I trust you, Tyler. There's a hospital CFO conference next week in D.C. I've declined your request to attend in the past due to cost. But this year, I think it's in Unity's best interest for you to go. It runs from Monday to Thursday, and you can stay the weekend with your family if you want. Deal, boss. I'd hug you, but I know you'd probably spank me, and I don't want Mike to misunderstand. She smiled warmly. I'll do the paperwork today. If you make it by next Sunday, I'll buy you a week. Now get out of here and think about our new contract with the nurses' union. I stood up and smiled. Consider it done. If I save 5% on the contract, can we talk about my year-end bonus? Her serious look told me it was time to leave. I just had to get through 3 more days until the conference. After I returned, I'd hopefully only have to wait a few more days in suspense. I focused on my work, even upsetting Jody Meyer, the nurses' union rep, by rejecting their latest offer. I figured she'd feel the pressure over the weekend and maybe be more reasonable next week. On the way home, I called my dad and brother to let them know I'd be in the area that weekend and wanted to see them. Despite the short notice, they promised to make time. I didn't share the bad news with them, but knew they'd be supportive when they found out. My last call was to attorney Eli Sharp. I updated him, and he suggested using this time to gather more evidence of Lynn's infidelity with Molly's help. When I got home, Lynn wasn't there, which was unusual, but nothing had been normal for over a week. It was her second day of vacation, and we had no plans. She could have been with Justin or another guy. The thought that she might have other men crossed my mind. I even considered sending Banks an anonymous tip about her cheating. I decided to go for a run to clear my head. Running 3 to 5 miles a couple of times a week with good hills helped me think. I ran harder today, hoping to exhaust myself enough to sleep. My world was falling apart, and running helped me cope. Lynn's cheating depressed me. 9 days ago, I thought she loved me as much as I loved her. Her betrayal shook me. I wondered how much of it was my fault. Maybe I was too focused on my career. As I ran, more questions swirled in my mind. How would she react? Would she admit what she'd done? Would she ask for forgiveness? I knew I couldn't stay in the marriage after such a deep betrayal. But how would I feel seeing her at the hospital? Would I be angry? Would she stay or leave town? I doubted she'd leave. She'd probably stay and try to prove I was a fool for divorcing her. Realizing I was thinking too much, I pushed harder on my run. By the top of the second hill, I was focused solely on catching my breath. Exhausted, I walked around for 20 minutes to cool down, then took a shower. I put on swim trunks, grabbed a beer, and relaxed in the hot tub. Lynn was still nowhere to be seen. Later, around 11 p.m., I ate dinner, watched 2 episodes of Ted Lasso, and went to bed. Lynn never showed up or contacted me. It was the first time in our marriage we'd been out of touch for over 12 hours. I took melatonin and Motrin to ease my aching body and slept until 7 the next morning. Noticing Lynn's door closed, I realized she had come home late. I had my coffee, ate bagels, showered, and headed to the golf course. The weather was great, and I enjoyed a game with friends and lunch. By 3 p.m., I had no more excuses to stay out and headed home. Lynn and I didn't text or call each other all day, waiting to see who'd blink first. She wasn't home when I arrived, and the cycle repeated. Sunday was the same. I was leaving on a 4 p.m. flight to Washington, D.C. I spent the morning doing yard work, something Lynn and I usually did together. She showed up around 11 a.m., looked at me, and went inside. Frustrated, I gathered my things and left for the airport without telling her. I figured she wouldn't notice I was gone, but I hoped she would. 2 things happened. Eli called to say Molly's team had new evidence of Lynn and Banks. Then Lynn texted me. "Where are you?" "In Washington for a CFO conference Connie asked me to attend." "When were you going to tell me, you inconsiderate fool?" "Whenever you got home before 1 or 2 a.m. and talked to me." "Where were you Friday and Saturday night?" She ignored the question. "Ty, I was scared something had happened to you. Why didn't you text me?" "I did, but you didn't respond." "If you were so scared, did you call the police?" "No, but still, you're such an idiot for not communicating with me." "Did you call my boss, my dad, my brother, or any of our friends to check on me?" "I contacted several people. Don't blame this on me." "Name them so I can verify. I won't tolerate lies from an insensitive and uncaring idiot like you." "You're just insanely stubborn, Ty, and right now you're just pissing me off." "Well, Lynn, you don't seem capable of telling the truth or taking responsibility, so screw you." There was no response, just silence. Was she feeling guilty or suspecting that I knew something? I realized I was sweating and breathing hard as if I had been working out. I pulled myself together, showered, and went to the conference. Despite my emotional turmoil, the week went okay. I made good contacts and attended some informative panels. The weekend with my dad and brother was tough but supportive. They couldn't fully relate to my situation. My mom had passed away 3 years ago, held by my dad, who loved her for 41 years. My dad thought Lynn was crazy. My brother Elliot had a great marriage with Mary. Even their occasional arguments were resolved quickly. We played golf, watched a Nationals game, and enjoyed lunch. I loved spending time with my nephews. Sunday night came too soon. My dad hugged me at Reagan Airport and looked me in the eyes. "I know it hurts, son, but you'll get through this. Lynn has shown her true colors. Keep moving forward one day at a time." "I know, Dad. The pain will subside." He hugged me, then drove back to Springfield, Virginia. By the time I got to Des Moines, it was almost noon. I went to the office to check on things. Jody Meyer's latest offer was better, showing the nurses didn't want a prolonged work stoppage and trusted Unity to negotiate fairly. I peeked into Connie's office. She gave me her usual look. "What do you want now?" I smiled. "Just wanted to say thanks for last week. The seminar was great and the time with my family was perfect." "As if I care. Have you done anything useful since you got back?" "Not much, but we'll have a deal with the nurses by the end of the week." "No need to thank me. Get out of my office, Tyler, and come back when you have something for me." I loved her teasing, but today it felt more important. I paused at the door. "Hey, boss." "What?" "I love you too." I ducked out before she could throw her pen at me. Sometimes a normal life with people you respect is the best medicine. Maybe Dad was right. The pain would begin to subside. On the way home, I called my lawyer. Eli Sharp answered quickly. "Stop by my office at 7 tomorrow morning, Ty. We're ready to move forward. Lynn kept seeing her idiot partner over the weekend. We have photos of her in a revealing outfit at their hotel." When I got home, the house was dark and empty. It seemed truly over between Lynn and me. We hadn't seen each other or had a real conversation in weeks. I missed the Lynn I married. Fun, curious, mischievous, beautiful, and strong-willed. I dropped my bag, grabbed a beer, and sat on the back porch as the sun set. Despite my anger, I found myself crying. One day, I would have no more tears for her or our marriage. I couldn't tolerate her betrayal. My pride was wounded, but intact. Tonight, I mourned what was lost. By 10 p.m., I was exhausted. I took a quick shower and fell asleep almost instantly. We slept in separate beds, so I didn't hear her come in, whether it was right after I fell asleep or at 3 in the morning. I didn't know, and I didn't care. I got up around 5:30 a.m. to get a quick workout before meeting Silas and the team at 7. Lynn's car was in the driveway, and the guest room door was closed. She had a 3-day shift starting today, which meant we wouldn't cross paths much this week. "Ty, good to see you. Come on in and have a seat," Eli greeted me. Molly and one of Silas's assistants, Peggy Simons, were there. Molly smiled and said hello, and Peg offered me coffee. We got down to business quickly. Eli began, "We'd like to serve Lynn this week. Tyler, Molly has gathered ample evidence of your wife's infidelity. Repeating it won't help. You already owe Molly over $6,000, so thank her and let her move on." Molly smiled, patted Eli on the shoulder, and left after shaking my hand. "I hope you get things settled quickly and painlessly, Tyler," she said. I thanked her and said, "I hope I never need to hire you again, but I'll gladly recommend you to anyone who does." Eli and I discussed how and when to serve Lynn. I suggested doing it at work with Justin present, possibly Thursday at the end of the day. Eli advised against waiting that long. "Waiting gives her a chance to find out. You've kept your composure, Ty, but you must be at your limit. Let's serve her tonight or tomorrow. One of Molly's guys is watching the hospital and will know the best time." I agreed. I was ready for the confrontation. My thoughts went to Clint Eastwood's asterisk outlaw Josie Wales. "Are you going to pull those pistols or whistle Dixie?" The fight was on. Eli also found a state law that allowed me to sue Justin Banks for alienation of affection. It might not go anywhere, but the embarrassment could damage his career. We agreed Eli would call me when the case was done. I'd be on the back porch to talk to Lynn. Eli wanted proof of our conversation in case things got out of hand. He asked Peg to have Molly's team set up surveillance equipment on our back porch and be ready to call the police if necessary. I doubted Lynn would get that crazy, but then again, I never thought she'd cheat on me. I spent the afternoon emailing Jody Meyer about the latest contract negotiation issues. By 3 p.m., we reached an agreement. Neither of us was 100% satisfied, so it was probably fair. The nurses got a decent raise, overtime, and vacation days, while the hospital got a 5-year contract instead of the 3 years Jody wanted. Even Connie smiled when I put the papers on her desk for the board of directors. I was a 5-minute walk from home when Eli Sharp called. "So, Barrister, how are we doing today?" Sharp grinned. "Sorry, Ty, I know it's tough for you, and I'm not trying to make it any easier. I just heard from Molly. She's offered to deal with Lynn and Banks. They had just finished a long surgery and were in the staff lounge with another nurse, the surgeon, and Mike Devlin, the head of surgery for Unity Healthcare. Devlin was there because Alex Greer, one of the best surgeons, was operating. Devlin and Greer went to Yale together, so they socialize a lot. Anyway, Molly walked into the lounge looking like herself, which can be intimidating. Banks, a medical student, was offended by a non-medical person in their space and asked if she was lost. When she said no, he told her the area was off limits and she should leave. Molly said, "Can you believe this little piece of crap talks to me like that?" She pushed him back into his chair, leaned in, and he started peeing. She threw him her best Chicago look and asked if he was Justin Banks. He barely said yes. "Well, son, you've been served." The room got quiet and everyone stared at me. When I turned to Lynn, she looked like she might melt. I took a nicer tone, but with sarcasm. "And you, sweetheart? Are you Lynn Clinton, Tyler Clinton's wife?" She whispered yes. "Well, you've been served too." Molly said it was one of her best moments in years and hesitated to leave. Devlin turned to Banks. "If you did what I think you did, you'll never practice medicine if I can help it." He turned to Lynn and said, "Please tell me you're not that stupid, Lynn." She hung her head, and as Molly left, she heard Devlin say, "Lynn, go home and don't come back until you talk to a union rep." Sharp finally stopped laughing. "Tyler, your wife got the summons and is on her way home. Molly's boyfriend is nearby and ready to help. Be prepared, son. This might be one of the worst moments of your life. Be firm, but don't yell. If it gets too much, go for a walk or to another room. You'll get through this. The hardest part is over." We talked more, and I felt Eli wanted to stay and help me prepare for the impending storm. As we were about to finish talking, I heard Lynn's car in the driveway. I thanked Sharp and told him I'd call later for an update. Lynn walked in looking terrible, clearly having cried the whole way home. She looked at me with a mix of sadness and rage. "How long have you known?" she started. 3 miserable weeks, Lynn. How did you find out?" Not that it matters, but I came home early from a conference to surprise you. When I got home Friday morning, you weren't here. I checked my Glimpse app and saw you were near the airport. Things went downhill fast from there. That morning when you called me about the penny, you lied to me. You set me up. Well, if anyone knows about lying, it's you, since you've perfected it. But yes, I lied. I wasn't trying to set you up. I was trying to see if my world was falling apart. And it is. She was silent for a moment. I didn't want to ask her anything now that everything was out. I just wanted to deal with it and get away from her. Finally, she continued, I can't believe you made me serve myself at work in front of my coworkers. I was humiliated. Take a number, Lynn. That was just cruelty. Your actions left us no chance to sort things out. Your betrayal is the cruelest thing anyone has ever done to me. I have no desire to build a relationship with you. I'm divorcing you and not looking back. If you think you can treat me like this, and I'll want anything to do with you, you're delusional. She finally sat on the other end of the couch. But Ty, I love you. I never meant to hurt or be cruel to you. Justin was just a fling. I know it was wrong, but we can work through this and grow stronger. Lynn, I'm trying to stay calm, but you ruined our marriage. Any reasonable adult can see that. I've seen pictures and videos of your escapades at the Hampton Inn. You can't expect me to ignore the pain you caused. I can't believe you were spying on me and Justin, Ty. Why didn't you just talk to me? I could have ended it right away. You took it to the extreme, Lynn. I shouldn't have had to spy. There shouldn't have been anything secret between us, especially infidelity. Why would I talk to you? Nothing you say will ever be believable again. The extreme is your infidelity. Look in the mirror and see the truth. I had no idea if she understood any of this. She seemed to be looking for an easy way out, brushing off her betrayal. Every time she spoke, more nonsense followed. Ty, divorce is the last thing we want. We live and work at the same hospital. What will people think? It would be embarrassing if we got divorced. And how humiliating if coworkers and friends hear these details. Come on, baby. You know how bad that would be for both of us. Lynn, I've been living with embarrassment and humiliation since that Friday when I saw you and him leave the Hampton Inn after you lied to me. Divorce will be a relief because the attention will finally be on your betrayal. I'd ask if Banks was your first and only affair, but I won't believe you. Thank God we don't have kids. The thought of raising children with you makes me sick. Why would you want to stay married to someone you don't respect? Ty, what can I say to make you realize that Justin was just an infatuation, an affair with no emotion or love? It was wrong, but I love you and want to be with you. I promise never to look at another man. Well, Lynn, you must be the most delusional person ever. You lied and cheated for months, gave me an STD from your boyfriend, and you expect me to pretend nothing happened. Let me be clear. I will never touch you again. I'll divorce you as soon as possible. Even if I end up destitute, I'd rather live alone than with you. The pain I felt this past month is beyond me. If not for the support of family and friends, I might be lying face down in a ditch right now. You did this to me, Lynn. Your cheating, lies, and callousness almost destroyed me. But I'm still standing, and I intend to move on, keeping you in my rearview mirror. I don't know if she got it, but tears came to her eyes. I'm sorry, Ty, she said before heading upstairs, starting to realize the consequences of her actions. Sorry isn't enough, Lynn, I replied. 6 months later, we were divorced. Neither of us wanted the house, so we sold it and split the equity. Everything else was divided 50-50 except alimony. The judge denied Lynn's request for alimony. When her attorney protested, the judge cut her off. Miss Bannister, your client should be grateful for the 50-50 split. I don't like dishonest people, and she clearly can't be trusted. She gets what the law requires and nothing more. Court is adjourned. My name is Connie Silverton, and I'm Tyler Clinton's supervisor at the hospital. My husband Mike and I were very concerned about Tyler and the suffering he went through because of his wife. The divorce was finalized, but it was a tough process. Tyler wasn't himself for months, dealing with Lynn's molestation and stalling. Fortunately, Eli Sharp helped him through it. Tyler faced financial struggles, but was free in the end. He's very talented, and I knew he would recover. Though it's been 3 years since his divorce, he hasn't started dating yet, but he has good support around him. Apparently, a girl from Cedar Bluffs visiting her Aunt Beth has caught his eye at the hospital. Lynn became an outcast. The married nurses avoided her, and several doctors, both married and single, tried to get her into bed after hearing from Justin Banks how easy she was. 6 months after the divorce, she resigned and moved to Denver, where she started working at a hospital. A year later, we heard she married a young rising surgeon. Some of our crew met her at a seminar, and she claimed to be a better person. Meanwhile, Tyler's reputation was so good that even the snarkiest doctors respected him. Banks, on the other hand, finished his residency with mediocre recommendations and ended up at a regional hospital in Frankfort, Kentucky, earning far less. He married a Southern girl, and they've been happily married for 3 years now. Last night, my husband Mike took Tyler out to dinner, which was unusual but not unheard of. After dinner, Mike asked us to join him in the living room. He took on his old military pose and said, "Tyler and Connie, what we see tonight is for us only. It will be destroyed and never mentioned again." I nodded, and Tyler agreed. Almost 4 years ago, a woman and a man hurt someone Connie and I love like a brother. We've talked and prayed for justice. I have many contacts from my years in the military and have called in some favors. Please watch the screen for the next 20 minutes. We watched 2 shocking videos. The first showed Dr. and Mrs. James Thaddeus of Denver, Colorado. Mrs. Thaddeus, formerly Mrs. Tyler Clinton, was sobbing and screaming at her husband after receiving a video of him cheating. "You fool! I've been faithful to you. How could you ruin our relationship? Get out of my house now!" When he left, she sobbed, then read an envelope that said, "Betrayal hurts like a cow, doesn't it, strumpet?" The second video showed Justin Banks outside his home in Kentucky, where his wife tearfully held photos of him cheating. 3 large men, one in a sheriff's uniform, approached Banks. "Did you think you could screw over our sister and get away with it? There won't be a piece of you left to identify if your body parts are ever found." Banks cried as the screen went dark, with a uniformed man saying, "By the way, Tyler Clinton's friend, Colonel Silverton, sends his regards." A final scene showed a young woman smiling into the camera saying, "Mission accomplished."